Okay, it looks like online we have Casey Gannon, Christina Dewar, Alicia Buckholz, Jason Hauser, Jenny Zazo, who's also in the room, Katie Fairbanks, Kim Seeberger, M. Cat, Melissa Fisher, Micah Grimmett, and Mozilla Current, Will Trimbeth. Sorry if I have mispronounced your last name. And in the room, we have Carrie Powers, Commissioner Slotnick, Commissioner Vero, Allison Franz. Yep. Yeah. I'm thinking about her. John Hart, Andrew Chorney, Chris Lounsbury, Ann Hughes, myself, Cheryl Hartman, Maddie Scott, Mac Bloom, Ray Reiser, Griffin Smith.
Great, thanks a lot, Chuck. Before we dive in, do we have any public comment on items not on the agenda? We have a consent agenda and thing we want to pull out. The things I want to point out. At least for our media sake, there's some of these opioid settlement stuff here that's kind of interesting, and John Hart has spearheaded that effort for us. If you want to ask any questions on this, we can just move on.
Sure, I'll ask a question. Do you know how much money is coming into Missoula County right now?
So Missoula County specifically, not that much. Some of the, and these are very preliminary numbers, Griffin. I think if the Purdue Sackler direct settlement is ultimately approved and comes to fruition over the course of a number of years, Missoula County individually will receive about $182,000 from that settlement. But our Missoula metropolitan region, which is comprised of the county and the city, that metro region collectively could see in the range of 1.06 million over the course of a number of years from that Purdue Sackler direct settlement. The other settlement, which is identified as the G8 opioid settlement, that is a settlement with 8 smaller opioid manufacturers, and Missoula County could see individually as much as just south of $26,000, and then our Missoula metropolitan region could see as much as I gotta put my glasses on. $148,000, and again, those are payments that would be spread over a number of years.
Did you say 48?
148,000.
John, when you say number of years, what do you think we're looking at?
15?
I think it's paid over 15
So you
years.
take those dollar totals and divide them in 15 annual chunks.
Which is not a whole lot.
Right, I heard something along the lines of 80,000 a year.
That's the Missoula metro region. Yeah, not Missoula County.
And what are the restrictions on how this money can be spent?
Well, the money has to be spent on opioid abatement. And there's a definition for opioid abatement that's about a page long that is in one of the original settlement documents in the MDL court in Ohio. It's very expansive, but at the end of the day, there has to be some relationship to the opioid crisis and helping people that need help who have been victimized by
So we couldn't take opioid money and fix an intersection.
No.
And Martin had his hand up.
Thanks. Yeah, Martin.
Commissioner Slotnick asked my question. Thank you.
Appreciate that. Martin and I are on the same.
So Griffin, it's a little over $9,000 between the two settlements per year that goes to Missoula County.
And what more steps does the county take, or maybe this settlement needs to go through before it reaches you guys?
There's a few deadlines coming up. later this week, there's a deadline for Missoula County to agree to vote in favor of the Purdue bankruptcy plan. And then by September 30th and a date in October, we have to agree to participate in these two individual settlements, one being the Purdue-Sackler settlement, the other one, the G8 settlement. And then local governments, state governments, tribal governments, all around the country are in the same process under the same timelines. And as long as a sufficient number of those government entities vote, agree to participate in these settlements, then they'll be approved by the court, and the money will begin in Missoula County's case. The money goes to the state of Montana. We have a settlement agreement with the Department of Justice, Austin Knudsen's office, about how that money gets distributed, and that's where the Missoula metropolitan region comes into play. That distribution system in the state of Montana has already been agreed to in prior settlements, and this money will be distributed in the same way.
Perhaps a question that no one could answer, but the current task force the city and county are employing have almost $1 million to spend this year, depending on the one-time funds. Any reason why this group of settlements is a little bit lower than the previous settlements?
We were not privy to the settlement discussion, so I have no idea what.
The settlement, the Purdue-Sackler settlement, being almost $7 billion, that was a pretty significant settlement. And yes, it adds roughly $80,000 a year to the pot. The money that we have now, some of that was fairly significant one-time payments, and it does represent a lot of previous settlements. So the aggregate of what we have this fiscal year and then in the future is, just represents a lot of settlements. But the Purdue-Sackler settlement is, I think, in terms of a monetary amount, the highest thus far.
I would move that we approve the consent agenda. Second that, and all in favor? Aye. Thanks. Okay, our first action item comes to us from Jenny.
Okay. Share. All right, so yesterday at the Lands and Community Update, Will Trimbath, who is joining us online today from Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation, also came in person and presented on a Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation conservation easement amendment. This amendment is coming before the commission for approval because it received $300,000 in open space bond funding 2006 bond funds in 2011. And amendments to conservation easements must be approved by the commission as a stipulation of the open space bond funds that were used towards the purchase of the easement, and approved that it's still, the conservation easement with this amendment still meets the open space bond fund requirements. And so a few of these slides are similar to what you saw yesterday, but I did include a couple of new ones that pull out the language from the 2006 Open Space Bond Fund, just to get a quick look at that, and then the resolution that was specifically tied to the approval of bond funds for this conservation easement. So this easement is on 890 acres north of Houston along 6 Mile Road. It's called the 6 Mile 1 Conservation Easement. Here again, you'll see it was purchased with the 2006 bond funds in 2011. The amendment is proposed to resolve a building violation, a hay barn, that was built outside the building envelope, allowing that to remain in exchange for an amendment to the easement, which will remove or permanently retire the right to replace 3 other structures on the property, resulting in furthering the conservation values by limiting further structural development beyond what was limited by the original easement. So due to the enhancement of the conservation values, the staff recommendation is to approve and sign the conservation easement amendment. It still does protect the open space values that the bond funds were used towards for this easement. And again, Will's here for any questions that you might have. I did pull out here, this is the ballot language for the 2006 Open Space Bond Fund. So the purpose of the bond funds are for the purpose of preserving open space in Missoula County by purchasing land, easements, and other interests in land to protect the following: water quality of rivers, lakes, and streams, wildlife habitat, conserving working ranches, farms, forests, providing access along rivers, lakes, and streams, managing for growth, providing open space and scenic landscapes, providing recreational and commuter trails, paying non-personnel related transaction costs associated with an approved project, weed control, and costs associated with the sale and issuance of bond. Specific to the 2006 open space, oops, let me get back really quick. This kind of just is an easier way to see it. This is in the actual interlocal agreement for the 2006 bonds, just again, restating those purposes of the fund. And then specific to the resolution for the 6 Mile 1 conservation easement, the following purposes of the open space bond fund as listed in the interlocal agreement: protects water quality of rivers, lakes, and streams, the conservation of working farms, ranches, and forests, and protecting habitat for some wildlife, managing for growth, and providing open space and scenic landscapes. So yeah, just wanting to respond to that request yesterday to dig into the language a little bit more. And Will and I are here for any questions.
I have no questions. That was a presentation yesterday. Okay, I would move that we, what are we doing here? That we're approving the proposed amendment.
I'll second that. All in favor? Aye.
Comment.
Oh, please, thank you. Anybody want to comment on this? Welcome to. All right. We already voted.
We're done.
Yeah, we're done with that. Patty,
Hi,
thanks, Jenny.
Thank you.
this is a request for the board to appoint a member to the Aquatic Invasive Species District Board. There is one applicant, Alexander Marsh, and it would be for a partial term through December 31st, 2027.
Point Mr. Marsh.
Anybody want to comment on this?
He was very enthusiastic.
He was a sharp guy.
Yes.
All in favor? Aye. You're on the board.
Thank you.
Thanks. Okay, discussion items.
Do you want to take any public comment before you dive into your?
Thank you. Anybody want to talk about any of these budget issues?
No. Oh. I'm just waving at Jenny. Trying to.
Alrighty, commissioners, we'll jump back into ongoing requests then. Just as a reminder for folks, these are preliminary approvals or denials until we actually get to final budget adoption, which is on Thursday, September 4th, sorry. Okay, so we had just finished near the bottom, the housing innovation ones. Bryce has withdrawn the 2 from extension. So the next we have is the sheriff's clothing allowance.
So did we make decisions about the DirecTV lease?
Yes, you did. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So then we have the sheriff's clothing line increase before we jump back up to the technology ones. So which are the ones that we?
Do you have?
Yeah, so this is an ongoing request because the cost for that line item has gone up.
Well, they need
I don't see it.
clothing. Let's give them clothing.
And the last one was for the Tech Increment District. This was a request to add an FTE funded out of the TEDS for the Economic Development Department. So it comes with its own associated revenue. Andrew Hagemeyer did say that at least right now, he's looking for approval, but probably would not fill that until later in the year, depending on whether projects pick up or not. But it is funded out of the tech district.
There's already money there, so I see no problem with that. Let's do that.
We're going to jump about, it looks like about a half a dozen to a dozen up to the technology district or technology ones, which we held off on because Ken wasn't available at our last meeting, but I believe he's hopefully online today. I don't see him in the room.
It's each building, the one that starts with the city. Okay.
Let me
Do that right in here.
go check and see if I can find Ken.
I'll do it. I got this.
So then we've done it. So did we decide to disentangle? I don't know why I don't remember this. So we did disentangle the TIF money from the regular money that would be from that lease. So
Yes.
Yeah, according to Andrew, it's not that,
it was just an accounting thing.
yeah, there
This
wasn't,
general money was getting mixed with TIF.
there wasn't an unallocated $750,000.
And then did we put the 50 in the TIF?
Yes.
Great.
On the one time is the 329,000 that's available to spend as one time. Thoughts? Okay. This is highlighted. This.
The answer is no.
I'm used to know, it's okay.
Maybe it's because it's the second half of CJD. So Ken, we're on the ongoing request that you had wanted to speak to for technology,
Yeah,
the database backup.
yeah, so the database backup solution that we have had in place for some time is defunct, and that's kind of a critical bit of infrastructure that we need to get updated back in place and operating. We're not under support anymore, and for a few years it was okay, but we're slowly that's kind of decaying. And ideally, we want to get under a platform that supports our existing database solutions. And the one that we have is just not keeping up anymore after years of, we'll call it neglect, mild neglect.
And that's $4,000.
$4,000.
Yep. Yeah.
I think we should do that.
Yes.
The next was the self-service password reset.
Yeah, so the self-service password stuff, and it's account management in general. What we have today is we have people that manage all of those requests. You don't have the ability to do that on your own at any given time. And as we've moved further from a purely 9 to 5, effectively 9 to 5 operation that's fully on site, those kinds of requests have to go after hours, they go to a human on a cell phone. That creates cost because, every time somebody picks up the phone, it's 2 hours of labor that we bill for a password reset rather than they bill for a password reset. That gets really expensive, really fast. We have a very limited service desk resource in general. And these are like low-hanging fruit that we can really automate and get people a good experience and a rapid response, which is really great for overall just customer satisfaction. So this is really just an effort to try and cut some of that easy low-hanging fruit off of the tree for our service desk people who, we're running into capacity there. So this is a a nice way to adjust and compensate.
And this isn't as two different things, one for 9,000 and one for 40,000?
Yeah, so those are two, the one that I just described is the cheaper one, the $9,000. That is purely self-service. The password management system, this is a security concern. I know that at least one of you guys uses LastPass or, yeah, okay. So
Recklessly used.
On my last.
No, no. Absolutely, and that's really good, and that's what we want everybody to do.
Chastised.
Yeah, no. Anybody who uses a password manager is a winner in my book because, yeah, because what you're doing is you're helping yourself get closer to that ideal of a random long password for every service. And we don't really want people to reuse passwords, and we don't. Ideally, we want them to be unguessable, right? And that includes you. You can't guess them either. So password management system gets us to that. This password management request gets us closer to that ideal of having the whole county have that system available. And the system that we're proposing is effectively, we'll call it a rough analog to LastPass, a browser-based extension that comes up and offers password filling, and it's synchronized across all your devices to your cell phone, so you can use it whether you're at your desk, your county provided mobile device, et cetera, et cetera. And it also helps us do things like share passwords in an appropriate way across teams, because there are resources where that is just a foregone conclusion that we have to do that as much as we try to avoid it. And it helps us also adhere to good password hygiene where the system offers you, here's a password you can use, a really long string of nonsense. So it gives us a lot of that, and that cost covers licensing the whole county for that tool.
And then the last one is the VRX rail system.
Yeah, so last but not least, this is kind of this is a preparation to get us under basically, I'm going to call it kind of under maintenance going forward. We have our core virtualization infrastructure, our big servers that live down in the basement that run most of the county. Those are 6 years old. We're past their refresh cycle. But we don't have an ongoing plan to deal with maintaining the, rather to compensate for the cost to maintain those systems, that platform. And so every 5 or 6 or 7 years, we get hit with this $250,000 bill because we have to replace it or risk it, melting down effectively. This idea is something that Michelle and I talked about at length to create we'll call it a savings account for that project. So we're not getting hit with that cost periodically, that gigantic cost. Instead, we're saving up $65,000.
And when the cost comes, there's.
Yep. It's a good model, and it's a model we're using for a lot of things, including like emergency operations. I think that's the way we should go because it's hard to absorb that cost. It's also really hard to do a big rip and replace, and this will help us get to a more sustainable pattern.
So knowing that the commissioners can't approve all of them, which is your preference of?
I think that we have to address the latter, the VX rail infrastructure. That's just, we're to a point where we're accepting increased risk every year that we don't manage that problem. So that's.
When do you think we'd have to do the big replace?
I think next year is this year. Last year was when I would have liked to do it. This year, it's urgent. Next year, I think it's going to be drop dead.
Okay, so and what would your guess be for next year's total cost?
Next year, likely we'll be pushing up to close to probably 350
to do the whole work.
To do the whole thing. Inflation is just really hard in that space, especially the tariffs.
Yeah.
Those are all that gear really comes from overseas.
Okay.
And is there any portion of this that can be done in the cloud?
Yes, but the cloud infrastructure overall allows us to bite it down into manageable pieces, but the year-over-year cost over the course of 6 years, let's say, is going to be higher. So we'll pay less per year than say the rip and replace at $350,000, but over the same 6 years, we'll probably pay more because we're getting cloud-based infrastructure typically nickels and dimes you. And for small organizations like us, it's hard. At our scale, we just ride that line where we have just enough people. Yeah, almost big enough to make it really economical for us to do everything in-house, but just small enough to where it's always a good question that we need to consider. In this particular case, though, the math isn't there yet.
Given the relatively short lifespan, you said 6 years.
Yeah.
This thing, not this year, but next year, is this the kind of thing we can finance, or is something with a 6 year lifespan not financeable?
It's not worth financing. We'll pay more rent.
Yeah, you don't want to finance it over its useful life. And
So what would it look like to set the money aside for the VX rail refresh and not do the password management system?
Password management is pie in the sky. It's an ideal for us, and I do believe that it's a good position for us. But if I have to pick between the two, I'm absolutely picking the core infrastructure. We have to keep the lights on.
And we wouldn't really be making that big expense until next year.
Yeah,
This is just putting money towards that.
exactly. This gives us enough to where next year, with 2 years of savings aside, next fall,
Oh, because you have some savings already.
we have a little bit of money aside, and what we can effectively do is I have a stopgap, an interim that'll help us limp it forward, with the knowledge that we can basically, this gives us the plan is a 2 year cycle.
Okay.
And basically we do a third upgrade every year. So we're taking it in manageable bites, and we're just, I believe, inside the space where we can basically begin that plan.
So if we did the 65 this year, what do you think the bill would be next year?
Roughly 100, 120 probably. And I feel like that's manageable for us. And if we can do, knowing that we have a plan in place and we can engage with vendors, get that contract going, I feel like that's a sustainable model.
Okay, when you say doable for us, you mean IT would put money away, or do you mean us for the county? What do you mean by doable?
Oh, doable for us as an organization, as far as being able to commit to a contract, being able to engage with vendors, and
To get the project done.
to get the project
So
done.
it's really not 65,000 ongoing, it's variable ongoing.
No, it is still 65,000. Yeah.
And you just mentioned 100 or so next year.
Yeah, but that would be the beginning of the contract, and we paid over the life of that contract. We'd be beginning that contract, and I feel we're really it's kind of yucky, right? Because we're in that zone where this year we received a proposal to do that upgrade. It was going to be about $120,000, and the ideal was that the original plan was we were going to make that. Initiate that project, given funding for that, and then we would be doing about $120,000 every other year, right?
So I'm mixing contract amount versus what we have as a line item in the budget. Is that,
Yes.
okay? Well, it sounds like we need to start doing the 65. Plus, yeah, I mean, sounds like critical infrastructure, so I would lean towards that and not the password management system. The other two ones are relatively low dollar amounts as far as the password reset goes.
Yeah, and that one happily is kind of offset by soft costs. It helps us to be more efficient. So that one's really nice. I would consider the database backup also just critical infrastructure. We can't ride unsupported and inoperable systems for too long.
And do you think the cloud costs will come down in the future, given all the creation, all these giant data? It's a good question.
I would love to believe that, but cloud cost has historically, we hit a rock bottom, and then we're now just seeing inflationary increases year over year for everything we do. We see increases, not decreases.
So what if we did the 65, the 4, and the 9,500?
Could we do I guess none of these decisions are final right now.
Well, they are what we will reflect in the budget. So, and then when you vote on the budget, that's when.
Just wondering if we could say yes and then we can add it all up and
These are the ongoing. So I'm not sure what you,
just wanted to know what
what other ones you would cut that you've already approved.
let's put them in and keep going.
All of them, or?
Not doing the 40.
Okay, so we're also doing the
It's
service reset.
understand that, right? So there's a cost right now that frees people up to do other things.
Exactly. That's very helpful.
And saves incrementally some amount of overtime.
Yep, yeah, exactly. And our overtime budget in that department it's certainly not zero. It's not incredible, but that helps us.
Okay, and then the last one is the deputy ops director position, which is under IS instead of tech. So it's 3 down or 2 down right after Largemont.
Yeah, so the deputy ops position, that's a pitch to help restructure the technology department in a bit more of a manageable way. Right now, the department is divided into GIS and records and IS and applications and development and so on and so forth. And there's no, outside of myself, there's no core IT, let's call him chief, that deals with broad coordination and infrastructural, basically, and operational needs for that department, the core IT department itself, which I consider to be the guys who, support your computer, who deploy the hardware and deal with the software across the network. That's fallen to me, and that's great, but it does drag me away from any other, let's say, more aspirational duties, planning for the future and keeping an eye on the horizon. And that's a difficult place for me to be. This is my pitch at restructuring to make that a bit more in alignment with our other departments. We're a pretty sizable department, and not having a chief there is it's stressful. So.
I mean, it all makes sense, but I don't think we're in a position this year to add any IT.
Yeah.
It's pretty rough.
Hold that
In a
thought.
different, hold
Yeah.
that thought.
Yeah.
In a different year.
Yeah, for sure.
Thanks for all the explanations.
Yeah, no problem.
You can still be aspiration.
I'm gonna do my best.
This is the Department of Dream Washing. No more aspirations.
That takes you through your ongoing, and then you had 4 one time that you wanted to revisit, which were there's 3 of which were the travel for the commission.
Have they heard
On your
the
one time. I'm sorry?
Calibrate program?
That was last.
That was last week, okay.
That was, we can certainly revisit it.
Oh, no,
if
no,
someone
I
wants
just,
to.
I had it
I had
marked as
that
we
they
were holding it,
deferred,
yeah.
We did, I remember deferring, and these guys can't just speak about it.
Sorry. I thought you had decided on that one.
Yeah, if we're able to.
For sure. For sure.
Chat Jennings' request from a bit ago.
Yeah, yeah.
He did present. Just a quick reminder that the Calibrate program is a diversion program operated out of the county attorney's office. And when folks most recently are asking me what I do, I found a good way to explain it is I am working to move people out of the criminal justice system instead of into it. Okay, so we're reducing the number of folks that are involved in various ways in criminal justice. We do that by addressing the underlying causes of what got those folks involved in the system. Reminder, one of the things that Matt talked about was the program has been grant funded. We had a federal grant, substantial federal grant that will end at the end of September this year. It was originally a 3-year grant. I did extend it. I did a 1-year no cost extension. Was able to get another year out of that. And it's been good. The plan was to write another federal grant. I had a great proposal. I was about 80% of the way through, and the offering disappeared. So that opportunity is no longer available. Matt had referenced it in his original proposal. However, that opportunity is gone, which leaves us with 2 FTE positions that were grant funded that will end at the end of September that are in the Calibrate program. Real quick, I did run some numbers last week, so I have this ready to present today. Since the program began, we have enrolled 238 defendants. Of those folks, 162 successfully completed. What that means is they're out of the justice system. They are not going on to probation. They're not going to the Department of Corrections. We successfully worked with those individuals, addressed the needs that they had, and moved them away from the system.
Do we have a pretty good rate of them not re-entering the system?
Yes. May I come to that in a minute?
Sorry to apologies.
And yes, the answer is yes. I can't wait to tell you about that. But they're in 162 successful. We did have 32 that, or 34 rather, that washed out. So we sent those folks back to the court or back to the county attorney's office for regular prosecution. So there are, of course, not everybody presses through, but we do tout that we've got about an 83% success rate. And that 83% has held true really for the last couple of years. Every time I run the numbers, we're right at about 83% of success. Of the folks that enrolled, we are working with right around 60% are felony defendants, 40% are misdemeanors. That's important because with those felony folks, I feel like that's where we can make the biggest impact in terms of both cost savings and working with the individual, turning their life around, making those positive changes with those felony defendants. We do, of course, work with misdemeanor folks as well. Restitution, I just touch on this really quick. Since we started up this program, since I was afforded the opportunity to head up this program, we've collected over $220,000 in restitution. That's money that has gone straight to victims of crime. It doesn't get processed through the Department of Corrections because they're not convicted, they're not onto that system. We are collecting that money very early. We are getting the money in the hands of victims much more quickly and frankly at a much higher rate than the Department of Corrections will. Community service, we have a number of folks that work community service hours. Folks, these are our enrollees in our program. We've had our people complete over 1,100 hours, 1,100 hours of work at places like Habitat for Humanity, Home Resource, and Public Library, among others. I have a long list, but I didn't want to bore you with the whole list. But 1,100 hours of work. With that, actually, Mac was going to talk just a little bit, I think, about the diversion program from his perspective. And then I think, come back to me, I have just a couple more points I'd like to make.
Yeah, hi, my name's Mac Bloom. I know you all know me. I'm the chief criminal deputy. Matt Jennings really wanted to be here today, but he's in trial, so he asked me to come over and fill in for him. I think it's actually probably good that I'm speaking today because my responsibility as the chief deputy is to assign all of the criminal cases that come into our office. I don't know if you guys are familiar with the nuts and bolts of how we receive cases, but as you know, we take all of the felonies that occur within the city of Missoula and the county of Missoula. Law enforcement uses a program called LERMS. They upload all of their reports into LERMS, and then they refer that over to us, and that coordinates with Justware and creates a new case in our file. If someone's caught in the act of committing a crime, obviously they're usually arrested right then and there, and we have attorneys that are on for charging each morning to charge the people that were arrested the prior day so that we get them charged within 48 hours. But there are a huge chunk of cases where the person is not arrested right away. Usually these are your property crimes or your sex crimes where the person is not caught in the act and there is some investigation that's needed by detectives before the case is ready to charge. Those out of custodies are referred to us and then they go to me specifically and then I assign them to our various prosecutors. I would say on a given month, our office usually processes between 80 and 100 out of custody felonies, between 15 felony prosecutors. So there are quite a few of these out of custody cases that are being assigned each month, in addition to roughly 5 in custody cases, felonies each day. I would just say that this Calibrate program, in my experience, is extremely useful for a variety of reasons. Number one, it saves a ton of attorney and staff time for our office. If I'm going to charge a felony case, just reviewing the case, putting together the charging documents, making sure we've got all the reports can take 2 to 3 hours. And this is a simple property crime felony. There's a substantial time investment there. Then we have to file it with the court. Obviously, all that paperwork being processed goes through our discovery paralegals, our actual paralegals, and then the clerks of court, and then to the district court. Then the defendant actually has to show up in court and get a public defender. So that's another hour of sitting in court with a public defender appointment. Then the public defender has to review all of the discovery from our office, and that usually takes at least an hour or two, even on a simple case. Then my office has to coordinate with the public defender to discuss resolution of the case. Then the defendant has to reappear in court, plead guilty. Then the Department of Corrections has to step in and do a pre-sentence investigation report on the defendant to give to the judge. Then the defendant, our attorney.
Commissioners, we do have to get through the list today, and
Oh, I'm sorry.
so I appreciate that, but it's not a represent of the project.
I
It's,
think we're under.
I'm sorry. I didn't know if you were aware of this. Anyway, I'll wrap it up here real quick. It takes, all of those things take a lot of time and cost. If we can just send the case to Ray, he can collect the restitution, do the community service. That can take just a couple of hours. So it's a huge cost saving for this program. And I really utilize the tool a lot, and I know the other attorneys in our office do.
So
Thank
thanks a lot, Mac. I
Yeah.
appreciate that explanation.
Sure.
So the ask is for 2 FTEs.
So Matt Pitt made 2 asks. He made the ask for the 2 FTEs, which raises is it the final number right here, right? 153. And then he made the other ask for the 1 FTE with just a super bare bones program for the 59,000. So obviously we would like the 2 FTEs, but we recognize the extreme budget constraints. So we made a second request.
Yeah. I mean, I want to go with the 1. I know that's a harsh thing to do.
Well, I'm just wondering if we can go with either. And the point is not calling into question whatsoever the importance of the program and the results that you've demonstrated, but we are in a structural imbalance with the budget, and every FTE we add is going to layer on top of that, and we can certainly do that, but it will be a tax increase.
I think that if we didn't, we would be looking at Matt or Mac or someone else from your department asking for more attorneys next year, which would be more expensive than the 1 person who works for Ray or with Ray. I know it's really hard.
What does the 59,000 per year buy you?
That is for the 1 FTE. If I understand your question correctly, Commissioner.
It is, yeah.
so, sorry, that is an entire year with benefits at 59, because that's
Super
not
low.
a match.
That's 3/4. That's 3/4 of a year, because we do have, for 1 quarter, we still have a grant funding through the end of
The
September.
tax increase is more than that, because it'll be sustained as an FTE going forward.
So without this, you would still have retained 2 FTEs or not? Well, what's the program? Just you,
It
Ray?
would just be you and 1 other person.
If there's no tax increase here?
If there's no increase, then I'm by myself. Obviously, the efficiency of the program is reduced significantly.
Yeah, we lose,
Yeah, and that's, yeah. Commissioner, you asked about reoffense. Do folks go through this? How do they do? We commissioned a study from the university. The results were absolutely wonderful. What we learned is folks that were enrolled in the diversion program were actually 87% less likely to reoffend in 1 year than similarly situated defendants. So what we found was a cost savings, a resource savings, and a reduction in crime.
So Commissioner Stormare, just to answer your question clearly, right now we have Ray and Maria that are primarily handling all of the cases, and then Justice helps coordinate and do the intake stuff. If we go with the 59,000, we'll get to keep Maria. We have to lose Justice. If we don't do any of that, it's just Ray by himself now, and we lose another major case handler with Maria.
I mean, given what, I mean, I guess I said my piece already and I understand the intensity and difficulty of it. But I would go for the 59. Are you solid in
Well,
your-
I don't know. I mean, there have been a lot of compelling cases made for increased staffing, but if this is putting the program in jeopardy, that is a little different. I saw Mr. Chorney change his positions here. I'm not sure what that was.
Juanita joined us.
Because give me Juanita to down so that.
Commissioner Bureau joined us.
People out of keeping people out of the justice system and the recidivism rate and how this fits with our general goals around justice. I know it's really difficult. That's what I would.
So
Doing the 59, which means cutting back, losing some positions, but not.
losing the program.
Yeah,
And well, you won't lose the program because
it would just be Ray.
it would be back to what it originally was. So, and the 59 is only for 3/4 of a year. So the reality is that's
And originally it would be
80 or 90.
But originally it would be a few years ago. This isn't an ask for growth. This is an ask for maintenance.
Correct.
And we're actually cutting into maintenance and going smaller. So we're contracting. We're just not deeply contracting. But I understand it's a really hard year.
Yeah, and I mean, it's similar to other requests that you
And
heard earlier for maintaining
the cautionary
FTEs.
tale is that this is completely legitimately a program that has been able to lean on grant funding. that
Can we
is
do
going
this?
away.
Can we do this in a one-time deal, one-time way? This is an ask to you, Chris, knowing that it had been grant funded in the past, that grant source went away, and this buys you time, and we have some new grant staff within the next year to come up with some other grant funding, knowing that it would be really difficult to say yes to this again if things continue on the arc that they're on.
So you would either need to disapprove some of the stuff that you've approved in one time to do that, because this is general fund.
Okay.
Or you would need to find a different revenue source to fund that.
So it's ongoing or nothing.
It's ongoing or taking money from someplace else that you've already tentatively approved.
Painful as it is, I would say no. but
And then
Not really
insane,
painful, it is to say yes.
okay, and then painful is, okay, saying no, what does that mean then?
That means Ray is the only person left. And because grant, before you came in, we refreshed the grant funding that had,
And the work is gone. The work doesn't go away. The people are already in the system, but instead of calibrate staff handling them, they're handled by county attorneys who are more expensive and it would push caseloads up. And this actually is done less expensively. And for a great percentage of the people don't enter the justice system with very low rates of recidivism. So for me, the combination of total reduction in costs and lack of recidivism, as difficult as this is, that's what is compelling to me.
And compelling to you, Dave, is that
that we are.
we just don't,
We're upside down budget wise and
This would be a tax increase.
it would add to our structural imbalance.
and how much does it add to our structural imbalance?
The
153?
if that is both positions, and then the 59 is one position, but not an entire year's worth of one position. So the ongoing piece would be closer to between 80 and 90.
We're doing the 59, which 1/4 is paid for with grant funding. Not the total, this is the small version.
And it's saying that this FTE request trump the others the many that we've denied.
Right, that's,
And again, I feel like because of the cost savings spread out in other ways and the effect on individual people's lives, I feel compelled to swallow this.
do we have any upcoming, I was like, is this something we can come back to if there's another like super compelling? This is,
Wrapping it up in 5
we're
minutes.
wrapping up in 5 minutes.
Yep.
Okay. Well, I'm moved by the impact of people's lives and this relatively small tax increase to fund it.
I totally respect your opinion.
And I absolutely,
All of us making difficult decisions.
Okay, so that puts us back at one-time requests. So the ones that you guys have on hold right now are all of your travel, so that you will need to make a decision on so that we can start to get a final budget together by next Thursday.
I could skip mountain towns and just go to mountain towns.
and I'll,
I'm not even going this year, so.
I will fund it myself this year as well.
Okay, and then
This, by the way.
it's on the one-time sheet at the very top, third one down.
On the one time.
So
So then the next two are NACO in DC and Florida.
New Orleans,
New Orleans, sorry.
right? Is it I can't remember where
but
the,
that's in next fiscal year. New Orleans, that's in July of
But your
2020.
travel still gets paid out of this year because so.
Well, if it's any consolation, I think,
Are you paid for by the NACO one?
Dave is
But you're not.
not till the following, I don't think this year.
it's unclear, it's from conference to conference, whether the Reservation Counties Coalition will pay my way. I think this is one time.
Yes, these are one-time requests.
I think not doing this is cutting off our nose to spite our face, in terms of we've got to be engaged.
Yeah, no, I agree. We have to be engaged and I'm fine funding my own portion of it if that is helpful.
This is not a huge amount here. I think we do it.
Okay.
Oh, which reminds me, have we scaled back our federal lobbying? I think I was gone for that one.
Well, that just seems.
Oh, we never had it.
Yes. Yeah, we are in the process of downscaling that contract, but no,
So I guess what I'm thinking there is that,
Yeah,
we're basically.
that's not in this budget. Sorry.
What's,
It's already scaled down in this budget, so
what's the scaled down amount?
I do not remember.
Sorry,
off the top of my head,
okay.
Sorry.
I mean, just in terms of, this is a better bang for our buck.
Yes,
in terms of
agreed.
engaging all of the-
Agreed.
So,
So if we could swap those
Separate.
two.
But it's already-
It's already in
it's
there.
already-
Okay,
it's
okay.
already baked in.
Yeah. Okay, that gets us through one times. So with that, we are done.
Thanks, Chris.
Yep.
Thanks for moving us through that.
Sorry, problem.
That's okay.
It wasn't weird.
It is terrible.